Welcome back to the Marketing Guy. My name is Rachit Kapoor. In today's episode, I am talking about a brand that has surprised pretty much everyone in the marketing world. People are surprised about how Allbirds, which started as a sneaker brand, the wool sneaker brand, has turned out to be a GPU as a service company. In today's episode, the intent is to knock Allbirds down with few nuances that in my research I find very peculiar to talk about. The brand equity that the brand had gained over quite a decent period of time. If you look at the time period between 2016 and 2021, it was kind of a very cool brand. I recall a lot of people in especially the tech world would wear Allbirds to their offices. It would represent them in a very calm context because it identified them as a sustainable person who care about the environment. They are not loud about the dressing that they have, and the product offering clearly ensured that. And it was for that period of time quite a believable brand. When they listed in 2021, it was close to about $3 billion and also valued at about $4 billion as well. But in March 2026, they decided to sell off their brand assets, primarily related to all brands, to American Exchange Group for about $39 million. This is also the group that has brands like Aerosols, NatureWell, and Ed Hardy. Ed Hardy especially is such a phenomenal brand because my favorite sports person, Sachin Tendulkar, mentioned how much he loved Ed Hardy as a brand. So it means to me. So I thought this should be something that I should share with you. But coming back to Allbirds going for about 39 million. Now the valuation of 4 billion, that's less than 1% of the value that the brand has been sold off. The brand is listed on NASDAQ, so the brand Allbirds decided to then navigate towards GPU as a service company, where they have a convertible facility of $50 million. So suddenly in their pocket, they have about $89 to $90 million, which in the deficit and the losses that the brand had suffered over the last few years, they suddenly have this money in front of them, which they decided not to improvise and improve their shoe line or the stuff that they were making, even the apparels, although they were not very exciting, one could say and argue, but they could have pivoted in many different ways, but not in a AI product offering. Maybe AI is touching everyone's lives so deeply that the investors are totally happy for the return that they want from their money that they have invested in Allbirds. So navigating into a very different direction also probably doesn't disturb them. Interestingly, the CEO of Allbirds was one of the key players behind Patagonia, brands like Patagonia as an instance. And now he is certainly a CEO of an AI infrastructure company. It would be interesting to see what the following years for NewBird AI, which is the new name of the AI company that Allbirds has pivoted into. Allbirds still stays. So you will see Allbirds becoming a little more mass brand. I would say you would probably see it in places like Macy's. Maybe you will see more of it on Amazon. Let's look at three nuances that I saw could have been the reasons for the way they have turned out to be an AI data center company. The first one I want to talk about is the campaign that they ran in June of 2022 with Lindsay Lohan. It was called the Unexpected Athlete, as the name of the campaign sounds. It was quite unexpected for them to have Lindsay Lohan. When times are going fine, when people, your consumers have really understood you, that you're a rock star of minimalism and you stand for sustainability so clear that they want to keep coming back to you as a repeat customer, then if you bring in a brand ambassador who has a great legacy from the Y2K times and her earlier success with Mean Girls, that this campaign is diluting even further. If you knock it down, what are the attributes that Lindsay Lohan brings to Allbirds? It connects to a certain context, goes back to the Y2K times, and maybe it's interesting and fascinating to catch attention. But where does the brand meaning come out in this particular collaboration? Is Allbirds trying to say that they are now becoming a fashion brand? Well, they were never a fashion brand, as you would see. They were more of a brand that was going along with the trends. They were standing for something. Now suddenly you start shouting all over the place with this campaign, although it was quite a success because it did get Allbirds the attention, but it really diluted the bottom line of the brand equity that they had. There's confusion out amongst consumers. They really don't decipher what this brand that they have been using, or the ones who didn't know were like, okay, well, there are multiple options like Nike, there's Adidas, and Hoka and On are doing exceptionally well as well. In 2025, as an instance, if you look at the results, Hoka and On grew over 20% in their revenue. Where on the other side, you had Allbirds going from over 50% in margin when they got listed to about 27-28% in gross margin in the same time period. And that is not a good reflection where your competitors are growing from becoming a performance brand to becoming a lifestyle brand, where more of an athletic connection is coming, more sturdiness is coming. There you have Allbirds, which is trying to become a performance brand from a trending brand, which was living on sustainability and certain ethics and values. They tried different things. They tried being in different channels. They were mainly D2C. But if you look at all this connection, you can't really connect the dots back to what clearly Allbirds stands for. The second one I want to talk about here is the inventory turnover ratio, which for Allbirds, more recently in their reports, turns out to be about 2.31. Now, for a brand like Allbirds or the brands in the retail, similar structure, popular brands like these usually have an inventory turnover ratio of 4 or 5. So you're turning your cycles at least 4 to 5 times every year. But if you're sitting at 2.31, you have a lot of inventory in your warehouse, which is costing millions and is not going anywhere. Now, the third nuance that shows how Allbirds have been thinking is this transition that we are talking about, they being a GPU as a service company. With now $50 million as a facility, they plan to buy NVIDIA chips, which would be about for 50 million. How many of them? 1,000 or 1,200 of them. Whereas big players like Meta, OpenAI, or Microsoft have over 500,000 of them. So it needs to be seen how Allbirds, now NewBird AI, is going to grow in this particular genre, which has these giants already taking up the maximum pie they exist, and they are only expanding every day. So the thinking behind that, let's leave the brand, give it as it is to American Exchange Group, whereas keep the NASDAQ listing, which takes years for brands to be present there, as an opportunity to now have a totally new organization into providing GPU as a service. It just surprises me that the investors backed it. Maybe the AI boom is so much that it has hypnotized the thinking process of very intelligent people behind such phenomenal brands like Allbirds. I mean, there's no other word in the history of mankind that the word surprise can be used anywhere else. If you think that there is any other surprising such scenario that has ever existed or you know of, do share it in the comments. And also tell me, what do you think about this particular transition and pivot of Allbirds into NewBird AI? My name is Rachit Kapoor. You have been listening to The Marketing Guy. I will see you very soon in the next episode.